In this video, we're going to take a look at Floowandereeze for Season 20 of Master Duel. We were able to hit Master Rank 1 in Season 19 with this deck, and there might be some changes from the iterations that we played last season, but the deck is still kind of midi. It's not top tier, it's not necessarily the worst, but you will have some frustrating matches just because the deck is very inconsistent still, thanks to Konami limiting things like M-Pin and Map, which is the consistency card for the deck, obviously, the pots and etc. That being said, though, we're still sticking with birds because it still plays around things like Max C, it still plays around things like the Bestials, and it still counters a lot of the meta like tier elements with things like Dimensional Fissure, having the ability to play that along with Dimension Shifter. So, at the start of the season, we were able to get on a quick win streak and hit Diamond 4 right away, pretty efficiently, because when you do get your engine rolling, it's still a very strong deck, but again, it does have its deficiencies, which I've talked at length about last season. To get into the deck list, though, we are playing 1 DD Crow still as a searchable interruption for Robina, which is still very useful. Of course, 3 Robina, 3 Eaglin, still 1 Stree, and 2 Toucan. Again, this is the ratio I prefer, but you can definitely make a case for 2 Stree and 1 Toucan as well, because when you go up against a Shizu tier, if they end up milling your 1 of Stree, that's it, right? Your only card to try to banish whatever other birds you might have in the graveyard is gone. So you lose your 1 of, and that can be a problem. But again, it's kind of situational, so you don't want to overload on the small birds, but then again, you gotta deck build for what scenarios you think you're going to run into. And for me, I think I get more utility out of the second Toucan, and I just have to accept the fact that if my Stree gets milled, I lose it forever, and I'm likely going to lose that game as well. Of course, 2 Dimension Shifter, again, another card that probably should be at 3, but it is what it is. 1 Apex, 1 Ryza, you can make a case for 2, 1 Snarl, and 1 M-Pin. Snarl definitely has limited viability. I would probably say 2 Ryza is stronger, but there is definitely some clutch situations where the Snarl wins me games, and when Kashtira comes out, Snarl will also have some increased utility in those matchups as well. But as of right now, prior to the next selection pack coming out, where the meta will definitely shift and this deck list might need to change again, Snarl for right now is still doing a job for me. Plus the fact that it's just another Floowandereeze name, I can banish it and get it back with Toucan, right? Or it's just another card to get in rotation, search off of Advent if I need to, and the double summons come in handy once in a while as well. Still on the 1 Gold Sark, because it's limited to 1 obviously, 2 Pot of Duality, 3 Extravagance, and 1 Prosperity. You need all the pot cards you can get, just because again, the deck suffers from consistency issues, so anything to increase consistently will help. 1 Map, 3 D Fissure. Again, this is a card you can definitely swap out depending on what you're facing. If you're finding a lot of Dragon Link, Branded, and Tier Limits, which are the 3 top decks of the format right now, you would definitely want to go Dimensional Fissure. However, if you're running into a lot of Adamancipator, Sprite, etc., Dark Ruler No More is definitely your better option, since this card is made to go second and will break boards. If I can find it, there it is, Dark Ruler No More. Okay, still on 2 Unexplored Winds. I think this is a must. In the description, or if you watch this video out, I will show you a mirror match where I literally got clapped up by an evenly match, losing my 1 of M-Pin, losing my Unexplored Winds, losing my Snarl, etc. But thankfully I had the second Unexplored Winds that I was able to get off of Map, because again, if you don't have M-Pin to search your spells and traps, at least you have Map, right, to banish them, get them back with Toucan too, right? So there is that alternative option. And this card helped me apply enough pressure where the opponent was forced to kind of play around it, that it pretty much won me the game, having the second copy. Okay, I'm opting for 3 Book of Moon. Again, defensive and offensive option. You could opt for 2, but I think you definitely want to play at least 2. Again, when Kashtira comes out, this card will have even more utility. So booking the Cash Monsters face down is definitely very, very beneficial. Again, you could make a case for a Book of Eclipse, but again, because Floowandereeze doesn't put up the most oppressive boards, you don't get 3 and 4 tribute monsters on board because of the 1 M-Pin. You get 1 or 2 on board at most. If you Book of Eclipse a full field, your opponent's going to be drawing cards because you're not going to be able to out the whole board. So keep that in mind. 3 Advent, 3 Evenly. This is still the MVP of the format, and double Dreaming Town as well. Again, just having the ability to pot into one of your power spells and traps is very beneficial, so that M-Pin can search out the other one, and then you have all 3 in rotation, hopefully with Map, Unexplored Winds, and Trap card. And if you do get that set up, there's a pretty good chance you're going to win. Extra deck doesn't really matter, just have the Assembled Nightingale, into Downward into Zeus line. That's pretty much all that matters. Maybe some back row removal cards like Nightmare Phoenix and the Daruma doll. And then I had like one instance where I probably should have resigned because the time was probably worth more than playing out the match for the win, where I went up against a full armor master, which is unaffected by all card effects. It's, you know, basically a towers monster, just like Geomathmech, that Floowandereeze cannot deal with. So I think what I did was, like, during my opponent's turn, I Dreaming Town, just put all my birds on the board, and then during my turn, I was able to link into a BLS and then link into an access code, which obviously used a Link 3 as material, so it went up to 5300 attack, and I was able to win that match against Blackwing that put up the Armor Master there. So again, very situational, probably would never ever come up, or never in a scenario where you actually want to play it out, but it's there in case you want to go try hard and try to win every match to the best of your ability. That is a way, or one of the reasons why you would want an access code or other heavy hitters like Shureg, etc. in your deck. But that's going to do it for the deck list. Let's go ahead and jump into a match where you can see how the deck is performing so far. So one thing I will say is that there is options, obviously, for Floowandereeze. I mean, you know, people have commented, why don't you run Harpy's Featherstorm? Why don't you run Small World and Barrier Statue of Water? I forget what it's called. I mean, I'm not a big fan of all those cards. The only card that would be somewhat beneficial is running Jack in the Hand. That card, I think, can help you, especially in scenarios like this where you just need a second bird, or you just need any bird in order to play. That card can definitely come in clutch. Just make sure that you are reviewing the cards that you have at least 2 copies of. So obviously Eagle and Robina you play 3 of, and then whatever you play 2 copies of is your third reveal. So if you play 1 Street, you reveal Toucan. If you play 1 Toucan, you reveal a Street as your third copy. Look at this reveal. Ryza, Snowl, and Apex Avion double evenly, and a Dreaming Town. Talk about a brick off of a Pot of Prosperity, which is absolutely crazy. But of course we're going to take that Dreaming Town there, so just like I talked about in the deck list video, hard drawing this or potting into it can be beneficial. So yeah, this isn't really the best situation, but honestly the saving grace here is also the Dimension Shifter. So you can see here the opponent is clearly on Dragon Link searching for the Tracer off of the Magnemite here. They're going to draw phase a Quick Launch to bring out another Tracer, but under Shifter everything's going to get banished, and then if I do get my Empen up, all their Link monsters will be negated, so they're under double pressure, one from the Empen, one from the D Shifter, right? Because Dragon Link needs their graveyard, they need to use Lubellion, they need to recur things, so it's very important to them. They're safer, and everything obviously activates in the graveyard also. So they bring up Baron in attack mode, and as soon as this hits the field, you know, main phase 1, I'm going to Book of Moon. They're going to obviously negate that, because remember, Baron has the ability to pop a card on the field, and we don't want them to even pop our Eaglin, because if they pop our Eaglin, we're still screwed, right? So on this Book of Moon here, I'm going to let them negate it, and then as soon as this effect resolves, I'm not going to let them even get the opportunity to activate the effect to pop. I'm going to summon my second Eaglin, search for a Ryza here, and then throw out the Empen and grab back one of the Eaglins and also map. Now, this isn't the greatest scenario, and the opponent definitely could have kept playing, because what they could have done is battle phase, attack into Empen. I would have to banish my Ryza in order to keep the Empen on board. But, you know, any extension plays that they have, they normal summon, right? Because they already use Quick Launch. If they try to link off, it's going to get negated by Empen. Whatever they link off is going to get banished. So it's a real uphill battle for the opponent. Their Lubellions and stuff are turned off because cost is sending to graveyard. You can't do that under Shifter. So they're in a pretty tough spot. But obviously off Empen, I would bring Map here. Because then that would allow me to play, get Robina in rotation. The opponent is just like, it's not even worth it, and they just end up scooping it up. In this matchup, we are going second against Tearlaments, but our opening hand is playable. However, we are very susceptible to interruption still, just because we do need to try to get Robina or Map to hand in order to extend with the Eaglin. Now, the opponent does end up hitting off of Scream, normal summon the Havness, which I would say is probably a mistake. You're better off just playing the Scream and holding the Havness so that you get 6 mil instead of just the 3. But hey, it works out, and the opponent obviously felt confident because they clearly have a Tearlaments trap, right? That's kind of what this indicates to me. So you can see at the start of the main phase 1, I'm going to Book of Moon the Havness so that I don't risk getting interrupted by a Crime or by a Sullic with the Havness face up, right? Because again, Tearlament traps require that the Tearlament name be face up on the field. Plus, even if these aren't Tearlament traps, having the Scream up and having the Havness on board, if I normal summon my Eaglin, would trigger Scream for a mill, and you just don't want to deal with that. So just Book of Moon, the Havness, and it turns off everything in terms of the Tearlament spells and traps that the opponent could have. So now I'm able to go free reign with the Eaglin. If the opponent did have an Imperm, I have the Advent. But with the Unexplored Winds, I am going to be able to at least play off of one Eaglin. Again, a benefit of having just, playing more than one Unexplored Winds. Having to hard draw into it allows us to even extend off of somewhat bricky hands, because for some reason in Master Duel, you draw tribute monsters a lot when you play this deck. Doesn't really happen in real life, because I play this deck in real life, but in Master Duel, you will draw multiple tribute monsters despite only playing a total of 4. In your opening hand, by the way. Anyways, the opponent reveals one of his face down cards in Heartbeat, and we end up outing the other one, which was Super Poly, so no Telement Traps, as we guessed. But hey, this is still very good to get rid of because this card does beat Floowandereeze. And Heartbeat thankfully did not pitch a Telement name, but King of the Swamp is obviously very good because it allows them to go into Grapha. We do end up adventing away, grabbing Robina and Map off of the searches here. And you can see that we're going to grab Toucan, or not grab, but banish the Toucan. And at this point, we're going to be able to go full rotation, and I believe still get back Trap card. Got all the birds up, yep, as expected. And do I even summon Stree here to just get rid of the King of the Swamp? I think I might. Again, just good utility off of Stree here to kind of manipulate graveyards and keep control of the match. Yeah, so we're putting them on absolutely nothing here, and we still get Trap card to hand in the end. Unfortunately, our Unexplored Winds did get shuffled back, but it did its job, right? It really outed the opponent's board, allowed us to play, and got us full rotation. And this is the power of Floowandereeze, but unfortunately, it's less consistent, right? Because again, you have limitations on these cards now. So the opponent waited to see what their top deck was. It was nothing that was going to allow them to play, so they just end up surrendering, and we're able to take that match, going second.